Hi, Jan Marie Brooke from livingbrilliantly.com.au. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about how the Freedom to Be program actually came into being in the beginning. As I said in a previous video, I had been doing transformational healing for well over 12 years, and to do that I had gone to therapists and healers, etc. Then I was traveling overseas, and for the first time in my life I was actually surrounded with people 24/7, and so the feelings that I was having generated by the experiences that I was having, I didn't quite know what to do because I didn't have anyone that I could turn to work through what was happening. And I thought to myself, if I just had a card even that had the word of an emotion on it, I could shuffle the cards and I could identify what the feeling was, and then maybe I could work with it. And from that concept, the Freedom to Be program came into being. And it was on the eve of the Olympic Games in Sydney in 2000. And suddenly I felt the urge to put on a particular piece of music that had been created by a chap called Dave. And so I sat down with an art pad and a pencil, and I began to draw these very unusual shapes. And then the energy finished, and I looked down and I had probably about 9 of them at that time, and each one was labelled. And the first one came in as heart, and there was grief, and there was fear, etc. And I looked at them and I thought, now I need to actually create the colour to them. So I used watercolour pencils, and I began to work with the shapes on the paper and create artworks from them. What was interesting about this experience was that as I was creating each of those artworks, I of course had to go through each one of those emotions. And so it turned out that there were going to be a lot more than 9, the initial 9 that came through. There are now actually 62 in level 1 and 62 in level 2. And what transpired from then was that my house went into lockdown, and absolutely nobody could get in that door. It didn't matter what had been planned, who was going to come, everything was cancelled. And for 9 months I did nothing but bring in these artworks and create them. And what I realised was that each time I was working with them, I was embedding very high frequency energy into them. After the 9 month, I needed the process that would go with it. And so I actually asked Dave if he would create another piece of music that would help us work with the program to actually release it. When he told me about the music, the tears just flowed down my face as I connected with it. However, when it arrived and I played it, I didn't like it, and I didn't know what to do about that. So I heard intuitively, go and put on another piece of music, which I did, and I was guided to do the breathing technique with it. But it still wasn't right. So then they said, okay, now we want you to go back and choose another accelerator, and we want you to put the music that Dave made for you back on. And I did that, and it all came together in that 10 month. So there was like a 9 month birthing process, and the 10th month was how it all came together. It was like a jigsaw puzzle. I had absolutely no idea what I was creating. I just completely trusted that whatever was unfolding was what was needed. And so the whole thing came together, and it was just quite an amazing experience. And I have been working with this program ever since. I use it almost every day. Sometimes I can go several days and not need to use it. When I've gone for a few days with not using it, what I find is when I'm doing the breathing technique, the in-breath is enormous. And so it's quite clearly something that really needs to be used on a regular basis. Because when you do the breathing technique, you're working with the frontal cortex of your brain, your left and right hemispheres. And each of the techniques that are in the program are very simple techniques, but they're all powerful in their own right. When you bring it together in a 4-minute process, it is powerful, it is amazing. And it literally is going down and it's clearing out everything. And it's like having a glass of water. And in the glass of water is, say, an inch of sand. And in that sand is little bits of broken shells and wood and whatever. And they represent your emotions, your belief patterns, your mindsets. And so when you're using the program, it's like putting fresh water into that glass, and what happens is that the water level rises up and it begins trickling over the side of the glass, and with it goes some broken shells, some broken driftwood. But as I said, what they represent are emotions, belief patterns and wounds. So working with it on a regular basis, it is gently going down and clearing the storehouse that you have of suppressed emotions that have been created from prior wounds and prior experiences. So this is where the power comes, is using it regularly. And it's like anything, if you wouldn't dream of leaving the house without cleaning your teeth. Well, we need to understand that our emotional health is extremely important, particularly in this very stressful world that we live in. So by having a process, a program that helps you to release what is on the unconscious so that you can begin to live your life brilliantly, you can't put a cost on it. So that's the Freedom to Be program, and I'm Jan Marie Brooke of livingbrilliantly.com.au. Thank you.